Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our May 2026 OC HMIS user meeting. If you haven't already done so, please enter your name and your full agency's name in the chat box for attendance. On our agenda today, we have the HMIS participating agency schedule, HMIS data entry and performance impact, privacy and personal identifying information guidance, client consent form update, program move and CES referral connections, data element highlight disabling condition, the 2026 agency audit, SMP overview, project performance report goal 8 and 9 overview, project performance report, meeting and resources, holiday, our survey, and then a job opportunity. And then we will also leave time for Q&A regarding the topics we cover and our office hours. If you have any questions during the user meeting, to better organize your question, the HMIS help desk receives during the meeting. Our team recommends that you submit your questions through the Q&A option. We request that you keep your questions general and related to the topics discussed in the meeting. Agency-specific questions is best supported through an HMIS help desk ticket submission, so our team is able to further investigate and provide assistance for your request. So the Q&A option can be found through selecting More and then selecting Q&A. This is our HMIS participating schedule. This is a schedule of things throughout the year that the HMIS team is working on, from HUD required reports to Orange County required reports to things such as requirements regarding the agency audits that we just mentioned earlier, and then HMIS lead meetings such as the user meeting you're on today and the data and performance management meetings. We are doing sort of a quarterly view of upcoming events for the HMIS team. So in May, we have our transitional housing corrections, which will be added to your agency's Dropbox shortly. If you don't have a Goal 10 spreadsheet in your Dropbox, your agency did not have exit data during the reporting period of April 1st, 2024 through March 31st, April 2026. Please review our PPR webinars, which will guide you on information regarding running reports and reviewing information for goals 1 through 10 for your agency. As you can see, also in the month of May, we have our emergency shelter and rapid rehousing PPRs, our data quality report cards, and also our data and performance management meeting. In June, you can see the upcoming PPRs we have, and then also our audits will begin as well. And again, in July, we have our PPR reports that are upcoming, our agency audits that are continuing, and then also our HMIS user recertifications. We have a quarterly reminder regarding HMIS data entry and performance impact. Data entered into HMIS is used to understand the characteristics of people served through the OC system of care and how effectively clients are being served through this system of care, federal and state level. Data is aggregated for Orange County and is submitted to inform how effectively our COC is addressing homelessness as a system of care. Results of these reports impact the amount of funding our COC will receive from these entities. Local. In addition to reviewing data at the county level, data is also aggregated at the project level to inform how effective specific projects are serving their clients. Local funders use this data to determine which agencies and projects they want to fund. This means that accurate and complete data entry into HMIS is critical to ensure that your agency and our COC as a whole continues to receive funding needed to address homelessness in our community. Data entry and data quality best practices. Search for client records in HMIS prior to entering new clients to avoid duplicate profiles for the same client. Confirm spelling and review client documentation, if possible, to reduce data entry errors for name, date of birth, and social security number. Enter data into HMIS directly instead of collecting data on a paper form. Run data quality and performance reports at least quarterly to correct errors and identify areas for additional training. Review data quality and performance correction files sent from the HMIS team and update HMIS as needed. Review knowledge base articles and training materials to understand how to collect specific data elements. And again, this is another reminder that we have quarterly regarding privacy and personal information guidance. A reminder about client privacy and personal identifying information. Best practices for sharing client information. Users should only use the client's unique identifier to identify clients in correspondence. This includes HMIS tickets, reports, work emails, and work-related instant messaging apps. If a user must share additional client information, such as name, date of birth, or social security number in a report or correspondence, please use an encrypted email or password-protected file on your network. If you're sending a report to HMIS, please use your agency's Dropbox. And we do have a knowledge base linked regarding sending client information to the HMIS help desk.
Client consent form update. The final page of the HMIS consent to share protected personal information form has been updated to reflect changes in the roster of HMIS participating agencies. This form can be found on our website, ochmis.org, by navigating to the HMIS Forms and Documents header at the top of the screen, selecting HMIS Policy and Privacy Forms from the drop-down option, and selecting from there Consent to Share Protected Personal Information. A complete list of all agencies that participate in OCHMIS can be found at the link embedded on the slide and in our links doc that will be added to the chat. Program move and CES referral connections. If users mistakenly enroll a client in the wrong program, HMIS agency administrators can submit a ticket to the HMIS help desk to perform a program move and transfer that enrollment to the correct program. A program move is not appropriate for clients who need to transfer enrollments to continue receiving services due to funding constraints. Those clients should have two separate enrollments to maintain an accurate historical record of their enrollment history. When working with enrollments that have coordinated entry system or CES referrals attached, please exercise caution. HMIS agency admins should never delete an enrollment with a CES referral connection. Instead, a program move must be requested. This ensures that the CES referral remains properly linked and the program move will reflect the accurate program the client is enrolled in. This step is critical for maintaining data integrity and ensuring clients remain accurately connected to their referrals and housing placement processes. More information about this could be located from the Program Moves and CES Referral Connections Knowledge Base article. I also wanted to point out the screenshots on the right. At the top, you can see here an example where the original program enrollment was completed for the wrong program. You can see that there's a referral connection made to the wrong program. Sometimes users will mistakenly delete that incorrect program, but it had the referral connection, so that when they enroll the participant in the correct project, it no longer has the referral connection associated with it, which causes a data entry error, or excuse me, it causes a reporting error. The last example at the bottom here, the program move is conducted by the HMIS help desk. So we're able to move the enrollment from the inaccurate program to the correct project and still maintain the referral connection, ensuring that the reporting reflects that that participant was enrolled into permanent housing from a CES referral.
Thank you, Amy.
Data element highlight disabling condition. HUD defines a disabling condition as one or more of the following: as a physical, mental, or emotional impairment, including substance use disorder, PTSD, or brain injury that is long-term or of indefinite duration, substantially limits the person's ability to live independently, or could improve with more suitable housing. A developmental disability, or the disease of an acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS, or a condition arising from an etiologic agency for acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, which is HIV. Documentation is not required. Only projects that receive funding with eligibility criteria will need to collect documentation for disabling condition. Disabling condition continued. Scenario 1. Yes to a disabling condition, but no to all disability types. The user must review disabling condition equaling yes for accuracy and determine if the client has a specific disability that is expected to be long-term and impair the ability to live independently, or the client has a developmental disability or has HIV or AIDS. Or if the client's response is no to both, then the client does not have a disabling condition. Scenario 2, no to a disabling condition, but yes to a disability type that is expected to be long-term. If HIV, AIDS, or developmental disability is selected, disabling condition must be yes. If a condition is marked yes and is long-term, disabling condition must be yes. If the condition is not long-term, the disabling condition must be no. Ensure the main disabling condition field aligns with the selected conditions and duration. Disabling condition and program-specific data element. Disabling condition and universal data element, or UDE, correlates with the disability health condition and program-specific data element. The distinction is UDE is collected for all clients, for all programs, and PSDE is only collected for specific funded programs, such as HUD, ESG, HOPWA, PATH, and RIE. For physical disability, if each client has a physical disability or a physical impairment, developmental disability, you would indicate if each client has a developmental disability, a severe chronic disability that is attributed to a mental or physical impairment. Chronic health condition. If the client has a chronic health condition, a diagnosed condition is more than 3 months in duration and is either not curable or has residual effects. HIV and AIDS. Indicate if the client has HIV or AIDS. Mental health disorder. If each client has a mental health disorder, it may range from situational depression to serious mental health illness. Substance use disorder. If each client has indicated a disability, alcohol use disorder or drug use disorder. If there is an indication that the disability is expected to be of long continued and indefinite duration and substantially impair the client's ability to live independently. We will now be presenting a demo for the data element highlight disabling condition. Diana, can you please confirm that you're able to see the training site?
Yes.
Thank you. Today, we're going to cover the disabling condition field, what it means, how to enter it correctly, and the most common errors we see. This field directly impacts whether a client is considered chronically homeless, which may affect eligibility, reporting, and funding. Scenario 1, we have entering a client with a mental health condition. So we'll go ahead and open the client's profile. We have a fictitious client here, Penny Proud. We'll go ahead and select the Programs tab. Below, you will see the Programs Available section. So we'll enter the client into a new program, which is the ESG-funded Emergency Shelter Training Program. Once that is populated, we'll go ahead and enroll our client into the program. As you can see, for prior living situation, the information has pre-populated. And below, you'll see the disabling condition and barriers. For this example, we'll select that the client does have a disabling condition, that the client has a mental health disorder, and the long term is yes. Once you verify that all information matches for the client's program enrollment, you'll go ahead and save the information and close. As for automatic qualifications, we have two scenarios where it will be considered a automatic qualification, which would be HIV and AIDS. Notice once you select yes, there is no long-term question needed here. And the same for developmental disability. No long-term question needed here. And that's just simply because they're considered automatic qualifications. Moving on to common errors that we see. So let's review some common mistakes. Starting with the first, it would be yes without a reason. So as you can see, the disabling condition is toggled to yes. There is an error message at the bottom that populates. The error message is letting you know that you would need to select a disability type. It's considered invalid if you select yes. You must back it up with at least one qualifying condition marked yes and long-term if needed. Another common error that we see is mismatch between fields. For this example, we'll go ahead and select no for the disabling condition, yes for a physical disability, and then yes for long-term. As you can see, an error message will populate letting you know that to update the disabling condition. This will be a contradiction. If it is long-term, then the main field must be yes. The error message will no longer populate there. Another error that we see is, let's see here, disabling condition is yes, long-term is no. And as you can see, the error message will populate, informing you that the disabling condition needs to be set to no. The reason why is because this is not a long-term disability, so it would be considered that this is not a disabling condition. Accurately documenting disabling conditions isn't just about compliance, it directly impacts eligibility, service access, and data integrity. So when in doubt, pause and ask, what condition supports this selection? If there isn't a clear answer, it's worth taking a second look. Thank you, everyone. This concludes my demonstration. We will now move on to a brief knowledge check.
Let me go ahead and share slides again.
Okay.
Can you stop sharing, Michaela? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem. Bear with us, everyone.
It's showing me that I'm not sharing, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Let me try replacing and see if that works. Okay, everyone, we should be back on the slideshow.
Yes.
Okay, so you're ready to go, Michaela, for your quiz.
Now that we have the poll, let's jump into the quick 3-question poll. Choose the best answer for each, and then we'll go over the results as a group. We'll give about 15 more seconds. Okay, let's review the results here. Diana, are you able to see the poll results?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So the first question we have is, a client has a condition that is not expected to be long-term. Does this qualify as a disabling condition? The answer for number 1 is no. Question number 2, what is the error with this disabling condition entry? Choose the most accurate response. For question number 2, it is the disabling condition is yes, but no long-term disabling condition is selected. Moving forward to question number 3, if yes is selected for disabling condition, what must also be true? The answer for number three, at least one qualifying condition must be marked yes and is expected to be long-term. Thank you everyone for joining and for taking the time to fill out the poll.
Michaela, if I could share it.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your participation. We are seeing some responses about collecting documentation and just wanted to share the guidance from HUD data standard is that for disabling condition documentation is not required. However, if it is related to program eligibility, that's when documentation is required. So just wanted to note that. Thank you, Michaela.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Michaela, I believe this is your topic as well.
"2026 agency audits. The HMIS Help Desk team will be conducting agency audits for 2026. We will reach out to your agency 2 weeks before the available audit meeting dates so that you have a few options to schedule the audit and you have time to prepare for the audit. Please be on the lookout for our email to schedule your agency audit in June. We will be scheduling audits throughout the summer and fall months to accommodate all of the agencies.
Linda, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Okay, so I will be going over the System Performance Report. This is also known as the SPM. And this is a process where the COCs are required to measure their performance as a coordinated system and submit these results to HUD. And this is done on an annual basis. So these measures allow the COC to evaluate and improve their performance as a whole. And these results are then incorporated to the COC application score, which impacts the grants that are awarded through the COC program funds. So SPM data is pulled annually from October 1st to the end of September. For this presentation, we'll be looking at the current reporting period, which is from October 1st of 2024 to September 30th of 2025. Included on the slide is a link to our website where you can look at the previous SPM submissions over the years so that you can see exactly what we have been submitting to HUD if you are interested. And the project types that are included in the SPM reports are street outreach, emergency shelter, transitional housing, rapid rehousing, permit supportive housing, and other permit housing. So I will be going over the SPM scores that have been submitted to HUD over the past 5 years, and these are going to be highlighted in the yellow or red bars. Performance for the current fiscal year will be displayed in bars with a diagonal line. And then I will also go over the metrics and possible points from the previous COC application, and then also metrics from the OC strategic plan. So the first measure that we will be going over is measure 1, which looks at the length of homelessness. So there are two parts to this measure. First is the time spent in emergency shelter or transitional housing projects. The second is the total length of homelessness, and this applies to the current episode of homelessness that the client is in. So the chart shows the time spent in emergency shelter and transitional housing in yellow bars, and the length of homelessness in red. So you can see here that both of these numbers are increasing every single year. So on the COC application, we will need to decrease the average time that people are experiencing homelessness of at least 5%, or that the total length of time was 90 days or less. So we are not meeting those metrics for either of those cases, and we are not on track for meeting them on next year's, the current fiscal year's application as well. So this is a goal that we are continuing to lose points on the COC application. We do have a similar goal for the OC strategic plan, which is to reduce the average length of time by at least 5% annually, and we are currently not meeting this metric as well. And then next we have measure 2. So next we have measure 2, which is looking at returns to homelessness. So clients that are exiting to permanent housing, and then later returning to the system of care. So there are 2 metrics for this measure as well on the COC application. The first one is reducing the returns of homelessness within 6 months of exit by at least 1%, or that the rate of return is 5% or less. And this is captured on the yellow bars in the chart. So you can see that it's been pretty consistent every year. So unfortunately, we did not meet the metric for this measure as well. The second part of the metric is reducing the returns of homelessness within 12 months by at least 1%, or that the rate of return was 10% or less. This is captured by the entire bar on the chart. And as a COC, we did meet this metric on the COC application that we just submitted, because in total there are the percentage rate of 10% of returns for homelessness in that year. For the next measure we have is 4.1 and 4.4. This looks at increased employment income during enrollment or at exit. This is portrayed in the red and yellow bars on the chart as stayers and leavers. So on the COC application, it looks at the increased percentage of employment, or that the rate of income was 20% or higher. So unfortunately, we did not meet that metric on the COC application for the previous year, and we are not on track to meet this metric for the current fiscal year due to the increase in income. So next we have measure 4.2 and 4.5. This looks at the increase non-cash income for both stayers and leavers. So on the COC application, we will need to increase the percentage of the increased income from non-cash, non-employment cash sources, or the rate of the increased income needs to be 50% or higher. For the current fiscal year, or sorry, for the previous fiscal year, we did meet that metric, as we did have an increased income at the rate of 53%. For the current fiscal year, we are halfway there, with the rate of income projected to be at 52%, meeting that threshold of 50% or more. And for measure 5, this looks at people experiencing homelessness for the first time. You can see on the chart that there was an increase in homelessness from 2022 to 23, but there have been a decreasing number of homelessness for the first time over the following years. So on the COC application, metric for this measure is to reduce the number of people experiencing homelessness for the first time. And you can see that we are definitely meeting that goal, and we are also on track in meeting this goal for the next fiscal year. So measure 7A1, this looks at successful exits to street outreach. So you can see from the chart that there has been an increase throughout the year for this metric. And on the current year, you can see a huge increase in successful exits. But I just wanted to note that the increase is due to significantly less people being served in street outreach projects. So just to put it in perspective, we have about at least half the number of people that were being served in the previous year that are not being served this year. So there has been a steep decline in people participating in street outreach projects. And last but not least, we have measures 7B1 and 7B2. 7A1 looks at clients that are exiting from emergency shelter, transitional housing, rapid rehousing to permanent housing. And that's going to be your red bars on the chart. The COC application metric is to increase the rate of permanent exits by at least 2% that by at least 2% or that the rate was 50% or higher. We did not meet this metric for the previous fiscal year, and we are currently not on track for meeting this goal for the current fiscal year. 7B2 looks at clients that are in permanent housing or exited to permanent housing, which is going to be your yellow bars on the chart. So the metric for this is going to be increase the rate by 1% every year, or that the score needs to be at least 96% or higher. And so we did meet this metric for the previous year, and we are also on track for meeting this metric on the current year as well. Okay, so to summarize everything, there are a total of 29 points on the COC application that are specific to system performance measures. And on the last report that was submitted, out of those 29 points, our COC scored 10 points out of the 29 points possible. So for the SPM data cleanup strategy for the current fiscal year, as HMIS leads, we will continue to send out data quality reports, corrections, and also publish public reports for agencies to review their data. So we do send out data quality corrections every quarter. So please be on the lookout for that email so that we can proactively improve and maintain our data as a community. We also host quarterly trainings focusing on LSA and SPM errors as well. We also have trainings on reviewing client history and then also correcting approximate date of homelessness started. We also offer one-on-one meetings to review workflow just to ensure that data standards and workflow is in compliance with HUD data standards. We're also working on developing more training sources for our community, and then we will also shift to focus on data quality review during agency audits as well. So in conclusion, over the past few years, the COC system performance has remained consistent over the years, and that's being consistent and losing points on the COC application. So the goal is to improve the system performance, which means to increase more points on the COC application, which increases our chances in additional COC program funds. And as mentioned before, focusing on the reducing the length of time that people have been experiencing homelessness and also increasing exits to permanent housing from emergency shelter will have the biggest impact on improving our system performance. And with this, as this being a data issue as well, this is also a performance issue. So, permanent housing opportunities with low or no barrier are critical to prioritizing housing for those with the longest length of homelessness. And then also creating creative strategies and additional housing opportunities are also needed in order to increase exits to permanent housing. And that's all I have for the data system performance report. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'll begin by going over PPR goals 8 and 9. Both PPR's goals 8 and 9 are both reporting on the outcome of the homelessness system. Goal 8 supports clients with housing navigation to exit to successful housing situations, and this encourages communities to ensure that those placements are also stable. And Goal 9 focuses on the retention of permanent housing. Next slide, please. Goal 8, exiting clients to successful housing. After project exit, clients should be placed into successful housing situations, otherwise known as permanent housing situations. Any move to a sheltered situation is considered a successful outcome for clients in street outreach projects, and the applicable project types would be street outreach, emergency shelter, transitional housing, rapid rehousing, and homelessness prevention. This measure is collected for all clients exited during the reporting period, and Goal 8 is calculated by the leavers exiting to successful housing divided by the total amount of leavers. Next slide, please. Goal 9, stabilizing clients in permanent housing. After being placed in a housing unit, clients should be stabilized by either remaining in the permanent housing project or by exiting the project to a permanent housing destination. The applicable project types for Goal 9 are permanent supportive housing and other permanent housing. This measure is collected for all clients active during the reporting period with a housing move-in date or who were exited from the projects. And Goal 9 is calculated by taking the active clients stabilized in permanent housing, specifically those with a move-in date, and the leavers exiting to permanent housing, and dividing that by the total active clients with a housing move-in date in addition to all leavers. Next slide, please. And now I will go over a brief demonstration of the PPR Goals 8 and 9 program details report. Diana, can you confirm that you can see my screen right now? I should be on the training site.
Yes.
Okay, great. So from this screen right here, we're going to head over to this Launchpad icon, and then we'll head over to the Reports icon. From here, we'll switch over from Report Library to the Data Analysis tab, and then we'll switch to OC Training System Reports and click on this caret icon to expand this section. I do want to note that within the live site, this will simply state Orange County System Reports. From this section, we will scroll down until we see project performance reports. I do want to note that in our training site, we do have these project performance reports grouped together for ease of use. However, within the live site, each one of these project performance reports is listed out separately for agency administrators to get more granular information about specific reports. For this example, we'll be using training PPR's goals 8 and 9, and then we'll hit the run button here. I have already preloaded this data. You can see that the training reports goals 6 through 9 has a few different filters that you can utilize to further filter your information. Specifically, I'll be looking at information within the OC training agency for all projects within the specific reporting filter of completed within the last month. As we can see here, we're looking specifically at goals 8 to help clients exit to successful housing destinations, and goal 9, stabilize clients in permanent housing. I do want to note that these tiles are interactive, so you can click on them to gain more granular information about specific client enrollments. These tiles are split into two categories, the blue here being successful permanent housing situations, while the red being unsuccessful housing. If we want to look at a specific client, for example, since we do want to look at those unsuccessful situations to gain more information, we can go ahead and click on this tile here and then click on the client's enrollment ID. Let's take this first client, for example. From here, we can click on this link here to look at their program enrollment. And what we specifically want to look at here while we're in their program enrollment is their exit screen. You can click on this exit button here, and then we can look at their specific exit destination. We can see here that this client was exited to a place not meant for habitation. And if we want to ensure that this is the correct exit destination, we can reference this against our own internal records to verify. If this is correct, then no further action is needed on the agency administrator's part, but we do want to double check all these exit destinations just to ensure that we are recording them accurately. In a similar vein, goal 9 is also split into two components, the blue being successfully stabilized into permanent housing and the red being not stabilized in permanent housing. Once more, since we want to look at the outliers in this situation, specifically the clients who were not stabilized in permanent housing, we can go ahead and click on that option, which will load this pop-up window, which will once more lead us to an interactive screen where we can verify client IDs. Here we can once more look at the enrollment ID, link to the Clarity program enrollment for the specific client. And once more, we want to look at the exit screen to see why this client who was in a permanent housing situation was not successfully exited or retained in permanent housing. Once more, we can see here the exit destination states that this client was exited to a safe haven, and we just want to double check this against our own internal records to verify that this is correct information. And I do believe that is all for this demonstration, so I will go ahead and pass it over back to you, Diana.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen again.
Speaking of project performance reports, the Rapid Rehousing Project Performance Report (PPR) will be published on our website in the upcoming weeks. Current and past project performance reports can be found on the Orange County HMIS website by navigating to Reports and then Project Performance Reports. Corrections for the transitional housing PPR draft data will be uploaded into Dropbox this week. And once again, the Project Performance Overview is a helpful document that provides important information regarding project performance reports, including the thresholds for each goal as well as our publishing schedule.
The OCHMIS team meeting will be hosting our quarterly data and performance management meeting. Please join us on Thursday, May 21st via Zoom from 1 to 2 p.m. You may see our HMIS calendar for additional details. There are other community resources listed in the links in the chat. Our HMIS team invites users to complete the HMIS user survey. The feedback from this survey is used for topics at our monthly user meetings. We would greatly appreciate any topics or ideas that you're interested in sharing for the upcoming monthly meetings. Thank you. And then we did want to let you all know that we will be out of the office for the upcoming holiday, Monday, May 25th, in observance of Memorial Day. And then we will be back in the office virtually Tuesday, May 26th to assist you.
And good morning, everyone. Our HMS team has a data analyst job opportunity. So we would like to invite those who are interested or may know someone interested to review the job posting and please apply.
Hey everyone, we've come to the end of our agenda. We do have an opportunity right now for Q&A if you have any questions regarding the topics we discussed. If you haven't already done so, please enter your name and your full agency's name in the chat box for attendance so that we have that information for our reporting. Also, our meeting materials and recordings will be available on the OCHMIS website, and we will be sending a wrap-up email regarding when those materials are posted to our website. So we'll give a few minutes for the Q&A section. And then after we will move over to our office hours, which will give you the opportunity to ask questions regarding any general HMIS functionality.
Diana, are we in Q&A now?
Yes.
Okay, so I have two questions pertaining to what was presented during this meeting today. So for the program move and making sure that the CES referral stays linked to a program. So you know how if you try to delete a client who has services attached, the system won't let you do that. I'm wondering why to prevent this error, we cannot have the system identify program enrollments that have a CES enrollment to it, referral to it, so that they're not accidentally deleted. That's just a comment and maybe a suggested ticket to BitFocus.
Yeah, definitely. We can go ahead and submit that as an idea to our vendor BitFocus.
Okay. And then the second one is, so as you know, Mercy House in all of our shelters, we don't do direct data entry. We have our navigators submit paper intake forms and then submit them to our on-site data specialists for entering into HMIS. I noted during this today's meeting that I don't know if you guys, I don't think you said it was a best practice, but it was recommended that intakes be done directly into HMIS versus on the paper form. So on the paper form, there is a place for a client's signature, right, to attest to the fact that that information is correct based on self-reporting. What if we're going to be moving away from, or if HMIS is recommending or suggesting that we move away from paper intake forms, how then do you plan on getting an attestation from the client that the information reported in HMIS in the absence of an intake form is correct? Because everything is self-reported. And I'm just thinking back to the times when, I'm sure HUD doesn't do this anymore, but I remember there were times when HUD used to come out and do on-site visits and pull paper intakes to confirm that the information in the system was correct. So a comparison to the paper intake form. And there may be other grantors who receive like cities who have ESG funding that they give to different nonprofits to do the same thing. So that's a long way of saying, if we're going to be moving away from paper intakes, what will you do in the system to have client attestation about the recording of that information?
Elizabeth, did you want to take this one, or Erin?
Because the release of information, which is what we do kind of like, that's different than an attestation that information being reported is correct per the client's self-reporting.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have other funding, like private funding that requires you to keep paper forms, and that would be something that your agency needs to continue to do, but HUD has encouraged the COCs to transition to doing direct data entry into HMIS. There is a consent form in HMIS for data sharing, and that can be signed in Clarity. In terms of the attestation, that isn't being required to be captured in HMIS. That's something that was added to the paper forms, but that's not part of the HUD data collection standards.
I'm just bringing it up as a concern, and maybe something we might want to float up, because if HUD is encouraging that we move away from the paper forms, seems to me there should be some kind of something to what's the word I want to say, accompany or replace the signature on the paper form inside the system. That's all. Just thinking out loud.
We could, if you have a need for that, we can add that as a custom field, like maybe a checkbox or something. Like I have reviewed this with the client and the client agrees this is accurate or something like that. If you have a need for that, we could do it as a custom field.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Right. Thank you for that question, Carmen. We do have a few questions in the chat that are currently being answered. So if you do have questions, please do hold on. We are addressing those. We are at the end of our time, though, for this user meeting. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I hope you have a great day. Our next user meeting is on January 3rd, so please join us for that. Our user meetings are on the first Wednesday of every month. And if you have a question and would like to hang on for office hours, you can go ahead and do that.